This group is Conscious Business Bay Area. There are actually 3 meetup groups that feed into it, but it's Conscious Business Bay Area. and so we try to hold events, if you don't know about it, once every month or two. I teach conscious networking, kind of an approach to networking that doesn't suck. Meaning I bring in a lot of public speaking and performance and connection techniques to make it actually fun and productive, and some of you have been to those. And I like bringing in speakers as well and doing workshops that really typify conscious business. And the way that I define conscious business myself, which I get to since I created the group, is that it's both about cultivating the inner consciousness and awareness, and however you define that for you on your path, as well as being conscious about the impact that we make on the world and how those converge. So it's perhaps how to be a spiritual business activist, or however you want to define it for yourself, and it can be something that you're welcome to redefine as you will. And we had a great event a couple of months ago with Bill Barron speaking. Some of you were there, and I was looking who else can we bring in, and I saw what George Cow was doing, and I said, you have to come speak. And because he's gone through such a tremendously interesting journey with his own business, and raise your hand if you already knew George or knew who he was. So a fair amount of you here. If you don't, he's known for originally for his really kind of engaging and great group online programs, originally through social media and through business. You might know, if you're familiar with the Shift Network, that last year he was running their business program, the Enlightened Business Network or so, and so he's known for that. And I was really interested to watch. I know George for a few years or so, but not super well, and was fascinated to watch his journey of deciding to disband his online programs and start doing one-on-one coaching instead. And which I was fascinated by, as the subtitle for this event says, why I threw away my $350,000 business to find my heart, and how you can too. So you may not be doing exactly the same path, but overall the idea is that there are a lot of models out there that says this is what you need to do to be successful, and here we have George doing something that was really radically different, which I found incredibly exciting. And so he said, oh, what do you want me to speak on? I'm like, talk about that. So George will talk for and answer questions, engage for an hour-ish, and then there's going to be time afterwards for more like schmoozing with all the amazing people here too. Make sure we wrap up no later than about 9. And I'll just say now that if you're not on the Conscious Business meetup list, we hold a lot of cool events. The easiest way to find that is if you go to bit.ly.com, bit.ly.com/conscious meetup is the easiest way to find it. So that's it, and without further ado, let's give a big hand to George Cow.
Thank you for being here. I love your smiling faces, and you're just a beautiful group. And I know your spirits is bursting out. There's just so much that's within you that the world needs. And if only the world could know that. And here we are to help each other find that. So I give a lot of talks, but they're all online. The last time, I was trying to remember the last time I was in person giving a talk, and it was actually a coach's meetup or something. It was like 2 or 3 years ago, the last time I stood in front of a group. I like it, but I'm used to looking at the tiny little webcam, like that big. I'm good at looking at that tiny little black camera now, but now looking at all these beautiful cameras. It's a little different, but it's much more pleasant. So some of you know me and probably were following my story back when I was big. I guess my peers are people like Bill Barron in terms of size of business, although he's still higher than I am in terms of he has a staff and everything. But profit-wise, I might even be making more. Because I've always been a one-person shop, and I've had a VA for about a year. And so that's, I guess, the first lesson I want to share with you is that you don't have to build a large team. And that there is and there's a lot of assumption out there, I guess, that it's all about growth and building and outsourcing and all that stuff. I have found in my experience, and I think with a lot of people, that you spend more time training and finding the right people, and at the same time you could have been building. And there's also this assumption that you shouldn't be doing anything you don't like to do, right? And I don't agree with that. I feel like there is some kind of a growth that happens when you do things that sometimes are a little bit annoying or tedious. And of course, you'll learn as you do more of the annoying, tedious stuff, you'll learn to automate more. You'll have that natural motivation. You'll keep your eyes open to, oh, here's a tool that can automate that. Or maybe I don't need to do this at all, for crying out loud. Why am I even doing this process, right? Because it's really all about the people. At the end of the day, all your processes is about the people, the clients, and the referral partners. That's all. And it's about you, your joy in doing the work. So I would say definitely don't have to build this team and eliminate as many processes as you can, because some of them are probably not ever necessary. So before I go on, I actually want to say my intention in this hour is to be as useful to you as possible. As I don't really care about my story really, or what I can teach you. It's more about what you need and what I can hopefully save you, some headache, maybe years of struggle. So let me first start with that. Raise your hand and what is a challenge that you're dealing with in building your business? I'm assuming most of us here are business builders, business owners. So what is a challenge you're facing in growing your business? How would you phrase it? Yes. And your name?
My name is Lisa.
Lisa, great.
I would say with every tier of expansion, there's so much that's required to keep that foundation going. So many tasks, and that choice of do I hire it out and train and find out if they're capable, or spend the time doing it myself. And it's a real kind of like tug around building. It seems like every time there's a build, and it's kind of in constant state of build, there's going to be work.
Thank you, Lisa. So let me get a sense. If you are also struggling with that, raise one hand, or and then if you're totally struggling with that, raise both hands. Okay, let me just get a sense of, okay, great, thank you. Thanks, Lisa, that's great. Another challenge, Angie.
Hi, I'm Angie, and as I was saying to you earlier, my challenge is that just trying to find time to build a business. I work full time. I have a very active, wonderful 8-year-old, and it's just trying to just carve out time to do what I need to do to get things moving. I just find that's harder and harder to do.
Okay, thanks, Angie. One hand if you're dealing with that, both if you're, okay, great. Let's take maybe one more. Isabel.
Something I'm struggling with these days is, for me, it's really important that my business is an extension of who I am, and that I express myself fully in what I do, in the way I help people.
Yeah.
And I started about a year ago, and I'm getting close to that place, but it's still a struggle for me, especially now. I want to give more speaking gigs and things like that, and really coming out of myself to be fully myself and thinking, oh, I'm going to attract at the same time clients and interest from people than just talking from my heart place. Mm-hmm. And kind of struggling a bit with that.
Great, thank you. So one hand if you're facing that, too? Okay, great, thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Is anyone here struggling with getting clients? Okay, all right, yeah. So I guess where I'll start, since I'll kind of start with my story, and then I'll be sure to answer these questions along the way as I can. So I started with that vision of, 6 figures first, which gratefully I actually got to by the end of my first year of business. That was about 6 years ago. And the reason why I was able to get to 6 figures so quickly is because I stumbled upon a need that there was in the market. And so I'll kind of start there. I believe that when it comes to finding your niche, there are two paths. There's the artist's path and there's the entrepreneur's path. And by artists, I loosely use that term for your passion is expressing yourself in the world. That's what your business is about, expressing yourself in the world. So that's the artist's path. The entrepreneur's path, the extreme of that is the opportunist, meaning I don't care about this niche, I'm just going to exploit the niche. It's like, oh, I noticed that people love brown shoes. I'm going to start selling brown shoes, even though I have no care for brown shoes. That's the entrepreneur's path and the extreme end. The artist's path in the extreme end is the starving artist. And it's the person who says, I don't care if the world cares about my art, I'm going to express it anyway. So there's this sort of balance that needs to happen. And the interesting thing is, when either path is done well, it eventually converges. You become the artist-entrepreneur, or the entrepreneur-artist. And so the danger of the artist's path is self-absorption. The danger of the entrepreneur's path is losing your soul. And so I think what I really stumbled upon in the beginning was the entrepreneur's path, which is, I think, when you hear people reach 6 figures or whatever so quickly, it's usually because of that. When you hear people who become famous after they die, they've taken the artist's path. And I was wondering, why is it that artists get famous after they die? It's not, the death has nothing to do with it so much as there's enough time after they die to be discovered. So the truth, some people say, oh, you have to learn marketing because otherwise you won't be discovered. It's not true. You'll be discovered eventually, maybe after you die. If you want to be discovered in this lifetime, learning marketing is useful. So I really started there, and I started in social media teaching. That was 6 years ago when it was still kind of very hot. And then I branched into teaching about webinars. And then now I do the general conscious business coaching type of thing, which is what every niche expert said, George, you shouldn't be doing that. What do you mean general? But see, the thing about the entrepreneur's path and the artist's path, both, is, again, they converge, right? You first start either with your passion or with the market's need. You build a community around those things, and eventually you can expand out and do whatever you want because you have a community now. And it's almost like once you have that trust, you can sell anything that is still useful to them but expressive to you, and they'll say yes to it. So I got to the point where I had 1 VA and 3 coaches in my team. And at that point, I was already feeling a little bit of pressure to support them, to make sure the business supported them. And so my lesson, and I'm not saying everyone should follow my path, but my lesson is that I'm going to stay as small as I possibly can. Now, I'm not saying you should let your team go or whatever, but it's that if you were building a team thinking that you'll have more fulfillment in your business and happiness in your balance in life, I question that. I actually think that there is an easier way to reach balance and fulfillment as a true solopreneur. Now, having a VA or a contractor now, maybe you shouldn't be doing your website, maybe that should be contracted out. But I'm saying really most of the day-to-day, I do all of my bookkeeping, all my website stuff. I use Weebly.com, and people go, what? You're not even on WordPress or Squarespace or whatever it is these days? I started with Weebly.com, and I'm still on Weebly.com. I built the business to $70,000 a month. Weebly.com, I could have kept going, and still on Weebly.com. So here's another myth I want to share, is it's not the tool. People say, oh, you got to get on Infusionsoft. You got to do Office Autopilot, Entreport, whatever. Oh, one shopping cart, whatever. You got to find the perfect tool that does it all. And that's another lesson I learned, is that if a tool does it all, run away. It is better to find specific tools that do a job really well and have to piece it together. And in the piecing together, you might find that you don't really need some processes, like I've said before. So now I am, again, a solopreneur now. I don't have the coaches and the VAs anymore, teaching them to build their business, their own business. I feel like everyone can be truly fulfilled if they had their own business. There's always something that happens when you work for someone or have some people work for you. You have to find work to give them. You have to make sure there's enough revenue to support them. I look at some of my peers, like Stephen Dinan with Shift Network, and I wrote a heartfelt pleading email to him to say, Stephen, why don't you just give away all of the information for free? That's where the world is going. That's where the consciousness is shifting. Maybe in 10 years, maybe 30 years, I don't know. It's all going to be free. No more information products, people. And I was someone who was teaching people selling information products, right? So I pleaded with Stephen and I said, give it all away for free and find a different model where your people are providing coaching, because that's what they would want to do anyway. That's what they really love to do. They don't love to run the business. They love to be with people. And basically, I totally respect his answers. I totally respect that. Right now, I can't just suddenly shift and, have that huge risk. And I respect him. He's a leader now, and he has people to take care of. But see, that's what happens. And so my unique path is to encourage you. Maybe 6 figures is what you want, but maybe even not. In all my surveying, most of my clients would be very happy with $3,000 a month. No worry money, $3,000 a month, doing 15 hours of what they love a week. Who wouldn't love that? And you could add another 10 hours and have another $2,000, $3,000 a month. And life is really good. So that's why I decided. So I'll tell you why I let go of my $350,000 business or whatever. It was because I had a bit of a spiritual transformation a couple of years ago. I came upon a body of work. The body of work itself is not as important because everyone has the body of work that they get transformed by. But I came upon a body of work that built my faith more than anything else, more than it's ever built before. My faith meaning I actually believe that our consciousness lives on. I used to hope that our consciousness lives on, but now I really believe it. Even though I'm not a psychic or I've never seen anything paranormal in my life, somehow something got through to me. And when I realized that, oh my God, I don't die, nobody dies. And secondly, we're all going to be okay. Profoundly, deeply, unbelievably okay. More than okay. Came to that realization, and I said, oh wow, so what's really important then? It's not securing my position in this life. What's really important is the growth that happens that affects my next 1,000 lifetimes. And so I have like a mantra that I say these days is, what I do today affects my next 1,000 lifetimes. And I actually believe it's that kind of scale. If you ever study any kind of afterlife literature, it always comes back like they did something in this life and they have to suffer for hundreds of years or whatever it is. It's that kind of scale, in my belief. The other belief that came to me was the idea that when it comes to our true livelihood, I call it right livelihood, it's really useful to live as if we're dying. Yeah. It's like, what if this were your final year that you were able to give your true livelihood? Wait, we don't know. I could be hit by a bus when I walk out this door. I don't know if this is my last talk. And, so do your work as if this were your last year. Now, when it comes to your health, imagine you'll live forever, right? But in terms of your work, do it as if this were your last year. So what does that mean then? It means that we've got to schedule our time well so that we can get our work out as fast as possible to as many people as possible, as deeply as possible. And you'll find that it's scary in the beginning. George, are you asking me to give away the farm? You want me to give away all of my information for free? Now, I'm not saying tonight you should stop selling info products or whatever, but I am encouraging you to think about going in that direction. Because I will tell you that when I stopped selling information, and instead I sold my time. I know this is the opposite of what they all teach, right? George, you're stupid. You're supposed to go from one to one to one to many, not one to many to one to one. You're supposed to leverage your time. Are you leveraged? I don't care if I'm leveraged. I care if I'm happy. I care if the people in front of me are happy. I care if their lives are being changed. I have been doing one-on-one coaching now for 4 months. I've been selling information products for 6 years. Doing one-on-one coaching now for 4 months. I have never been so fulfilled. I have never seen the kind of transformation I'm seeing now. And I'll tell you the difference. When you're selling to many, I never sold ebooks. I sold coaching programs. People paid me $2,000 for some modules that were just slideshows with talks. Now I give even better ones for free, right? I sold those. And then I sold them on maybe 3 to 6 to 9 to 12 months of group Q&A calls, which I did my very best. I gave more group Q&A than most people in my industry. I gave like 5 a week at one point. But people weren't, not everyone who bought them was coming to them. And you all know what I mean, because I bought them too. And I didn't attend those group Q&A calls, because somehow those group Q&A calls don't have the intimacy where you feel like you can really share what's going on, the struggle that you're having. Now, some people are really good at building those communities, and I'm known to be good at that, but still I couldn't get people to, not everyone to really share. And a lot of people are shy. How many of you are introverts? I'm kind of an introvert. And a lot of people, I think, in our audiences are introverts, especially if you do online marketing. You bet you're reaching a lot of introverts. And they're shy about asking questions in group calls. So I sold people $2,000, and I'll tell you what the percentage is, and these aren't exact, but this is sort of my sense of things. Probably about 20% of the people bought and they were collectors. And I've been a collector of some things. I collect $2,000 coaching programs. That's what I collect. Some people collect, stamps or whatever, or shoes. I collect coaching programs. And so maybe 20% of collectors, meaning they bought it and then they had good intention to go through it, or they think, I'm going to buy it just in case I need it. There's a great deal going on right now, and maybe I'll do it after my kids move out, after my divorce goes through, after fill in the blank. Okay? And then another 20% had great intention. They go into it. And then maybe in module 1 or 2, life happens. A loved one dies. They need to grieve for like a year. That's a very real situation. Or they themselves get into some kind of situation or health situation. That's maybe another 20%. So I feel like I'm telling that parable like Jesus, like some seeds were thrown on the side of the road. Some grew up and some fell away. Some were taken by other internet marketers. And there were maybe another 20% who gave an honest effort to come to the calls, but they were so intimidated. They maybe went through the entire program, but they tried implementing it a little bit. It didn't work for them right away, so they got carried away and bought another shiny new thing. Maybe this is the answer. Maybe this program, I better buy it by the next 48 hours because it's a great deal. So maybe that's the answer now. And then there was another 20%. I don't know how many percent. Oh, another 20% asked for a refund. And actually now I'm kind of proud of those people. But no, my model was the internet marketers that were getting 50% refund rates. They were teaching people like me, your job is to sell. I mean, create a great product. That's kind of like something they barely talk about. But your job is to sell, and it's their job to use the product, not yours. You can't make people do stuff. How can you give yourself all that burden to make them change? And I'm hearing from the chuckles that you heard that before too. I really think that's a cop-out. Because I now have a program that I can really actually engage with them, and they're changing more than they've ever before. And it's all about accountability. That's what people are paying you for. They don't even know they're paying you for. They probably don't even know. They probably wouldn't buy it if you said, you're just paying me for accountability. Because there's accountability, I can get my friend for that. But you have a real stake in them succeeding, so you're going to keep them more accountable than anybody else. And plus, they respect you as a coach, as an expert, as a mentor, and they don't have a pattern of compromising with you, whereas they have a pattern of compromising with themselves and with their friends. So they don't want to let you down. When they agree with you, I'm going to do this thing for the next 2 weeks before I talk to you, they're far more likely to do it. And then the final 20%, right, are people who actually went through the whole thing, came to a bunch of the calls, and had some success. But the ones that I featured on my testimonials were more like the 3 to 5%. And that's not what the internet marketers and my peers are telling you. They're featuring the very tiny percent who, guess what, probably would have done it anyway. They probably would have done it anyway. It just happened they were lucky that they did it while they were with this coach. It was life. It was just the luck of the draw. And they featured these people, you know? And so I now, on my testimonials page, I don't call it testimonials anymore. I call it client reviews. And I actually, you can check this out, I actually put what I wrote to my clients on my client review page, georgecow.com/reviews. I wrote to them and said, hey, I've got this next class of people that I'd like to enroll, I'd like to share this with. Would you do me a favor and write to me what you would say to those potential clients about this program? Who should really consider this? Like, who is this program really for? And what do you think it will do for people like them? And what advice would you give them, you know, about coming into this program? That's what I said to them. And not surprisingly, they all came back with testimonials, you know. But that's what, but you know, I think they were more authentic testimonials. There was not the feeling, I gotta impress George, you know, I've gotta say this huge, big thing. They were like, you know, so George did this really well, and this was really good about it, and, you know. So, let me talk a little bit about how I structure my time, because I think that's really helpful for a lot of people. I have, by the way, an entire program. It's all free online now called Joyful Productivity. You can just watch the videos and download the slideshows. It's joyfulpro.com. Just check that out. But I have spent the last 10 years learning how to structure my time. I schedule everything during my work day, during the work week. And it's not for the faint of heart. You don't start that way. But you can start by scheduling a few hours a week to do your business. And those few hours a week are non-negotiable hours. That's a key term. I'll tell you what non-negotiable means, right? You already do that. Do you allow your clients or your business partners or whatever to feel free to call me at 3 a.m. in the morning? No worries. Some of you probably do. Just stop, you know. But no. When you're sleeping, that's non-negotiable at night, right? When you're taking a shower, you don't take phone calls or check your Facebook. Maybe some of you do. That's non-negotiable. Before you go to bed, you brush your teeth. Some of you do. No, that's non-negotiable. What are the non-negotiable things in your life, and why are they non-negotiable when your business is negotiable, when your time building your business is negotiable? It's not negotiable. Now, you can't be unreasonable and not have time for your family and your friends. Those times are non-negotiable too, which is also very difficult for some people. They're having dinner with their friend, and then they take a business call, you know, etc. Start making your time non-negotiable. I heard one of my clients tell me that she lives with teenage kids, building her business, and she tells her kids, don't come to me unless there's blood.
That's very precise.
Yeah, don't come to me unless there's blood. Now they're going to use fake blood or something. No, but so non-negotiable time. I basically work from 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. And during my work day, I've got an hour for lunch, and I eat lunch in front of the computer. I kind of check my social media stuff. It's fine. Otherwise, I'd be eating lunch alone anyway. So, and I do half an hour for nap after that. I have a mid-morning, 10 to 10:30 music and dance break. And I have a 4 to 4:30 or so afternoon walk. And then the rest is scheduled for different things. Now, most of us schedule appointments, of course. Oh, by the way, folks, feel free to stand up during my talk. You can go and get some food or stand in the back. I actually stand while I work most of the day. I have this sort of director's chair, high chair. I have a standing desk. That's another thing that I have found really helpful, to get a standing desk. And before I bought a standing desk, it was on Overstock.com, so it was pretty cheap. They still have them, actually. I just put a box on the desk and some books and my laptop. And that was my headquarters for the first 4 years of my business, while I was going through the boom, too. Now I have a standing desk, so it's a bit better. And I have this director's chair, which you can also find online, high chair. You put it behind you. The key is not to stand all day. The key is to do more of this.
Moving.
Yeah, exactly, moving. They found that with centenarians, people who live a long time and are vibrant and health-wise, a long time, one of the key aspects to that is they get down and up a lot during the day. So the Okinawan elders, they prepare food on the floor, and they get up and they go harvest or whatever. They take care of the kids on the floor. They do that a lot of times during the day. The people in another part of the world, they climb stairs a lot. They live a long time. So I do a lot of the down and up, and I encourage you to think about that, because the more you move, the more your brain is creative. Okay, so some of you work full-time, and then you have family to take care of. And when that happens, you need to be very specific about your non-negotiable business time. You need to be very specific. And so whether it's evenings for 2 evenings a week for an hour or two, and don't make huge chunks, because that will make you unfocused. So that's another thing that I recommend doing, is using a timer to work. Try that. Try it. And if you haven't tried it before, try it. When you're starting to work in maybe half hour, maybe 20-minute, maybe even 5-minute chunks. Especially when you're working on something difficult, work in 5-minute chunks. Set a timer for 5 minutes to say, I can do anything for 5 minutes, so I'm just going to stare at the blank screen if I can't come up with anything for 5 minutes. But I'll do it, and type whatever comes to me, And the other thing about scheduling is, like I said, I live as if I'm dying. So I'm very urgent about getting my stuff out there to as many people in as infinitely scalable a way as possible. So here's a really good marketing tip here. Whatever marketing, whatever sharing of free information you do it as scalable a way as possible. I'll give you a couple examples. Videos on YouTube. You don't pay to host your videos on YouTube. It doesn't matter if 10 million people watch it or 1 person watches it. So do as many of those as you can. And what I recommend is you try to do 2 to 4 minute videos. Take out a blank piece of paper, brainstorm on that piece of paper all the questions that you've been asked by your clients and your prospective clients about your expertise. All the questions. And then prioritize them to the ones you brainstorm first, and you prioritize the ones that are most juicy for people, most juicy for your prospective clients. And then you go ahead and answer each one on a 2 to 4 minute video. I've been telling all my clients to do this, and I'll tell you why I haven't done it yet. And I haven't done it yet because I've spent the last 6 years talking for 60 to 90 minutes at a time. So, and the other part of it is I have committed to doing my podcast for an entire year at least. And that's twice a week, 30 to 60 minutes. I prepare content. So I don't have content development time as one of my things in my schedule. I block off, throughout the week, content development time. See, here's a key, right? Content development is not urgent. It's important. But of course, when I say that, what if this were my last year to live, it becomes urgent. So I'm very happy to block off the time. Because otherwise, they won't know this information that I've learned. Okay. So YouTube, 2 to 4 minute videos. Why 2 to 4 minutes? Because when people search YouTube and they filter the videos, there's an option that says short or long. The short videos are under 4 minutes. That's what YouTube's specifications are for short videos. Why 2 minutes? Well, most of us won't watch a video past 2 minutes long, right? So try to keep it short. And remember, you don't have to save the world in 2 minutes. What you do need to do is communicate one nugget of information in an interesting way. And the first time you do the videos, they're not going to be that interesting. And you'll probably agree. Okay? But you can't get to version 2 or 3 or 4, which are going to be better, until you put out version 1. So have you put out your version 1? Whatever it is you want to share, have you put out your version 1? If you haven't put out version 1, you can't put out your version 2. You won't be really good until you get to version 5 or 6 or 50. Get going on versions 1 and 2 right now. You got to put it out there. So YouTube is one of them, 2 to 4 minute videos answering as many questions as you can. Okay? And the title of your videos, each one should be the question. Have you ever searched on Google? How many people have searched on Google before? And notice when you search on Google, oftentimes the second result is YouTube videos. Right? A lot of people aren't putting, a lot of your peers aren't putting up YouTube videos answering the questions that your clients want answered. And here's the thing, people go, well George, what if they consume all my videos, they don't need me anymore? Okay? First of all, good. That means you can go help other people. That means, guess what? You've just built up a huge amount in your karma bank account. And your karma account is far more important than the money account on this earth and in this life. You'll thank me after we all congregate in the spirit world, okay? George, you're so right! How come you didn't emphasize that point? So I'm very profitable now. I'm more profitable than I've ever been in my karma account. So YouTube is one way to build your karma account really fast. And the thing is this, the truth about the marketing piece of it is that the more they consume of your content, the more they can't live without you. Really, it's true. And so the more you would be very happy if someone watched the entire series of videos, because you've got more of an ideal client than you ever had before. If you, at the next video, say, hey, I've got a spot for 5 people to coach with me, you're like, where do I sign up? You know? So remember that. The second place to, so YouTube is pretty easy. All of us, I have a blog post that you can, maybe I'll post, and Jonathan can send it out later. I have a blog post that shows you in 10 easy steps how any of you can create a YouTube video tonight. If you have a webcam, which most laptops do these days, and a microphone that's built in, I don't have an external webcam or camera. I don't have an external microphone. I have a MacBook Pro that I've used for the last 4 years. Nothing else. Plus a cheap desk lamp that shines my face, right? That's how I build my business. And people go, oh, you want to do videos, you got to have this and that and this equipment, and what's the best equipment? Best equipment is whatever laptop you have now. So I have this 10 steps, and I have all of my clients in my program do a 2-minute video intro to the whole community in my program. And for most of them, it's their first time ever doing video. They're like tech phobes. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't know it was that easy. And then a couple of them like start doing videos every day. I'm like, all right, hold on here. No, I'm really proud of them, but it's funny to watch them. Isabel, you had a question.
Yeah, it's about that to what program, because I've been wanting to do video for a while and I get like, oh, what do I need to do? And do you just use
all you got to do is just, again, I'll send out that post that shows you 10 steps. It's so easy. YouTube has the program installed. Or if you have an iPhone, which is being used to record this right now online, you can just record it on your smartphone, Android, iPhone, it doesn't matter. Most phones have a video camera these days. Record it, connect it to your computer, upload it on YouTube. And it looks even better than the YouTube default camera. Okay.
So the quality of the video is fine.
Okay, that's a good question, right?
Because sometimes people
George,
say,
what
yeah,
about
you
the
need to share
quality of the
lighting.
video? Oh my gosh, you know what? My most popular video is called Conscious Money Flow, and it's free on YouTube. Some people say that's my best one yet. It's my 9 steps for conscious money management. You can just go to Conscious Money Flow, Google it. Google it, it shows up as one of the first results. That video is so bad that my mouth and the sound isn't aligned for the entire video. I didn't know until afterwards. And yet it's my most popular video. And so the proof is people don't care about the video quality. If the information is good, two things. If the information is good, and if you're communicating it passionately, And if you're funny, throw in a joke or two, okay? It doesn't hurt. That's all that matters. You don't have to be made up. This is more made up than I've ever been in the last 6 years. Like, I never wear these shoes. What are you talking about? I never wear these pants. So this is how you can do it. As minimalistically and as authentically, you will be so happy and your audience will love you. And it's true. So that's the YouTube thing. You can be as... Yes, please. Lisa.
So do you have like a ratio when I make videos? I sort of think maybe every 4 to 5 to 1, I want to be offering. You know, they can go to my list, they can have a consultation, something, which is a little different than just giving content.
Right.
Do you have a thought on that?
I do. I used to use a 1-to-1 ratio. Every single thing I gave for free, I had an offer. And it's because I never had an end to how much I wanted to sell. I was always in a selling relationship with my audience. I was always hoping, hey, out of these 100 people, how many are going to buy? And if it's 10 people out of the 100, I care about them and I don't care about the rest. I used to even call them illusory clients. That's how callous I was. I was trying to help my clients. I was trying to help them be better at their time. But my suggestion, Lisa, is to have specific number of launches a year and to focus on those. And the rest of the time, liberate yourself and just give. Because even if you're thinking about a ratio, 1 out of 4 to 5, you'll subconsciously keep thinking about it and you won't feel as authentic as you could be. But if you say, I'm just going to launch 4 times a year, then the rest of the time, you can give full out. You will find a difference with your audience. Your audience will feel that. So that's my recommendation. It's definitely not conventional, and probably most of my peers will disagree with me. So the YouTube's one. Second is podcasting. And how many of you listen to podcasts? Okay, all right. So there's a few of you. Podcasting is basically having your audio or video distributed by iTunes. There are actually last time I checked, there were 60 million people a month searching the iTunes podcast store for great free content. 60 million. They're searching all kinds of terms, personal development, spiritual growth, better relationships, whatever they're searching. I've never had an easier time distributing my content for free. So please consider doing podcasting. It's not as hard as it seems. I have the most ghetto podcast in the world, and yet, by ghetto I mean I don't edit it. You know what I do? So twice a week, I turn on the camera at a set time. My audience knows when to come to my live Google Hangouts. I turn on the camera, I talk for 30 to 60 minutes, I turn off the camera, I download the audio, I upload it to podcast. People are like, whoa. Where is your music logo? Where's your audio logo? You know, where is your music? Where is your middle music? Where is your sound effects? Where are your sponsors? Where's your offer music? Where's your offer music? Whatever. And no. And yet my podcast, in the first 8 weeks, has been featured in 4 categories on the iTunes podcast homepage. It was featured briefly as #1 in the religion and spirituality section. It was featured as the top 10 in the business management marketing section, next to like major marketers here. And right now, it's like 3 or 4 weeks running now, it's been featured on the iTunes podcast homepage, all of the homepage, under entrepreneurial inspiration, next to Stanford, next to Entrepreneur on Fire, John Lee Dumas, who has 250,000 listeners, next to Good Life Project, Jonathan Fields, next to the big guys. Out of 250,000 podcasts, I am one of 17 that are featured on iTunes homepage, under the Entrepreneur. And I want you to check out the other ones, because they all sound a heck of a lot better than mine. I mean, literally, you listen to my podcast, and you can hear my computer's fan and my computer's hard drive loading in the sound. Like, seriously, I'm surprised no one's... Okay, now you all can get that sound out of your head, seriously. I can't stop hearing it when I listen to my podcast. Nobody else has asked me. I think they think it's some fountain, like in the back, like, oh. No, it's my computer running. No editing. Nothing. One take, download the audio, upload, and I have between 300 to 600 downloads per episode. I would be lucky in the past if I got 300 people on a teleseminar. You know what I'm talking about, those of you who do teleseminars. Even with a list of 10,000 people, you're lucky to get 100 live listeners or downloaders. Now it's 300 to 600 every single one. Much bigger than I used to be in terms of content consumption. And I get people, even in the first 2 weeks, I happened to be launching my coaching program around that time. And the first 2 weeks, even my podcast, I had people coming to me and says, George, I want to do your coaching program because your podcast is awesome. I'm like, really? So podcasting really works. Really works. Okay? So, and all you do is download the YouTube, convert it to MP3 using iTunes, has a free MP3 converter from MP4. MP4 is the video you download from YouTube. I do this all myself, right? And if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll probably do some video at some point teaching you guys how to do that. Yeah, 2 questions. One?
Is your hangout interactive, or is it just literally you talking?
It's me talking. It's my stupid face when they're talking.
That's my hangout. I feel like it should be interactive. Like it should engage.
Yeah, like
I'm a
supposedly
teacher, and that's good,
supposedly every 10 to 15 seconds you're supposed to change the camera angle. That's what Eben Pagan does. All right, every 10 to 15 seconds. It's like 2 camera angles, right? My background is just, I mean, this is a nicer background than I have, you know? So it's just a wall, you know, a wall with a poster. Get it on art.com, just get a nice poster, put it in the back. That's it. Don't have a blank wall, that's kind of boring, okay? But just get some kind of poster on there. I'm sorry, and I'll get to you also, and your question?
Yeah, so it sounds like you decided at an early time that frequency and quantity were important, and I feel like I haven't done that because I feel like I really want all of my content to be evergreen, and people don't know whether it was produced last week or 2 years ago, so I only produce 1 podcast a month because it takes a day. And so how did you decide early on the balance between that? I'm going to do 2 a week, and I'm not going to worry about the production quality.
So thank you for that great question. If you do 1 a month, I understand if you take a day to really make it great. I mean, there's really 2 paths to content success, and content success leads to client success. Okay? I mean, there's 2 paths to client success. One is to be a really good salesperson and to be really good at enrolling people and using tactics like limiters, and limiters meaning like, oh, you got to buy it on this webinar, you know, get the $300 off or some other deals. That's one way of doing it, and I did that for years. And it never really felt right. It never really felt right. People say, oh, I hate selling, and then the sales coaches are saying, no, you're supposed to love selling. You sell every day, you know. To get your burrito, you have to sell. It's like, no, you don't. For crying out loud, we don't sell every day. We only sell when we sell. So, selling, no wonder it feels icky. Because we don't have to sell. I don't sell anymore. I don't sell anymore. And when people say, you don't have to sell, they're actually telling me you have to sell. But I really don't sell anymore. So that's one way of doing it, is being a really good salesperson. The other way is content marketing and making occasional launches and offers. Now, in terms of content success, you can either produce something awesome that's only occasional, and you hope, and you maybe even ask in that content for people to share it forward, and you're really hoping for the viral quality of your content. The other way is frequency. I recommend frequency. Not that you should stop doing what you're doing, but I recommend you do it more often. Maybe do that awesome episode once a month, but try to start doing it once a week that's less produced. And the reason for frequency, one is that frequency will make you a better content creator. By doing it more, you don't even have to try. You just naturally get better. But secondly, frequency gets you better ratings on iTunes. Entrepreneur on Fire is John Lee Dumas is the #1, the most well-known podcaster out there. He has probably at this point, I think last I heard 450,000 listeners. He doesn't have to sell, right? He makes all his money from sponsorships. Every episode he does, he gets probably $500 to $1,000, and he does 5 a week.
Wow.
And they're not, I mean, I listen to them, that's not one of the ones I'm subscribed to because it's not that good. I mean, some of the guests are good, but it's a bunch of sponsorships and I don't feel like he's really being authentic with me, like really wanting to help me out. You know, he just wants to use me for his sponsors. But he has got great rankings because he has so many of them. Here's the thing, when it comes to podcasting, you are really very importantly ranking the keywords of the title of your episodes in iTunes. So if you don't have very many episodes, you have very few keywords. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. John Lee Dumas, he has 5 episodes a week, and he names it all kinds of stuff, right? Every episode is something, a different name. So imagine people searching in iTunes. They don't have to be searching an iTunes podcast store. They can be searching an iTunes podcast for, you know, the latest Lady Gaga song or whatever, and they'll find one of the results says podcasts episodes. And John Lee Dumas shows up all the time. So you see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think the keywords is really important. So, other questions? Yeah.
George, could you speak a little bit about, not selling authentically, but how to speak to what is true for your heart while also speaking to the client's needs?
Oh, I love that question. Your name?
David.
David, great. I don't have my long distance contacts on today.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question from David is how do you speak authentically while still meeting the audience's needs?
Or client's needs.
Client's needs.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to fill in this sentence, okay? I want to deep, authentic, lofty goal, fill in that blank, through what the client desperately wants. So for me, I want to help people's spiritual growth through business coaching. I don't tell my clients what I'm really doing is, well, now they know, but I'm really a personal development coach. But I just happen to go through the door of, hey, how is your client referral plan going? And then inevitably personal development questions come up, and I kind of cover that stuff. So I think you have to, my podcast, when I really started it, okay, podcasting may be an exception. Especially if you do it frequently, just speak from the heart.
It seems like it's like a Trojan horse almost.
It's not a Trojan horse because you actually are trying to help them with the urgent need that they have. You are trying to help them with that. It's just that you also want to talk about what you want to talk about. So it's a win-win. It's really a win-win. Like, hey, I'm going to give you what I'm going to give you, and I'm going to share with you what I feel like is really important. And I think you might find it helpful too. That's kind of what you're saying. Does that make sense? But when it comes to podcasting, I really started my podcasting as an artist's path. Now that I've done the entrepreneur's path a bunch, I wanted to do the artist's path. And I just said, if I have 2014 left to live, I'm going to share the very best of my heart in my podcast. And if you look at the first 10 episodes of my podcast, it's all personal development stuff. It's none of the business stuff. And so I found that people loved it too. People loved it too. And then now, of course, I look at my stats and I notice which episodes get the highest bumps. And I go, okay, so my audience really loves to hear about procrastination. They love to hear about, conscious money stuff. They love to hear about, ways to improve your marketing offers. So I'm going to be a little bit more conscious next time, doing more of that stuff, and then speaking from the heart. The other thing, David, that I've discovered is that when you find that the person in front of you is being helped, like they ask. So how often do you ask your clients, hey, ask me questions. What questions do you have? I mean, you've done that before, okay?
Yes.
And notice that when you answer their question, you feel pretty good. So I really think there's 2 ways to speak from the heart. One is in isolation, and one is with the person in front of me. Like, I feel like I'm speaking from the heart right now, even though it's not what I would have loved to talk to, but I'm answering your question, David, and it makes me feel great. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, Jonathan.
I'm curious to ask for those here. I know people here in a lot of different places in terms of where you are with your businesses and what they are, and you're talking about some. I've been taking notes voraciously and love a lot of things that you're saying. And I'm also curious of just everyone here is like, how is this speaking like to you and your needs and this idea of finding your own path? And are there questions like, well, I'm not sure how this applies to my scenario, and those type of questions that are anything that's lingering that you may want to ask. that might be in a different direction than where you're going so
Okay,
far.
so I'm going to take David and Margie. David?
Okay, I'm just going to come from my heart. I have a technical question, but I can ask it later. So, for me, it's like if there's 2 trains, and train 1 is my day job, and train 2 is becoming a professional meditation teacher, which I'm in the process of
Awesome.
doing. And I'm not going to teach a style of meditation that lends itself to giving away for free the teachings. It actually has to be taught one-on-one.
Great, great.
And there's people there's colleagues of mine that do the same thing that none really figured out like how to. They give things away for you. Some of them do videos. I guess my question is trying to. I'm just wanting suggestions on getting a better train 1 that'll give me some more chunks of time to sustain me, so I can. The momentum seems to be so slow for me because this is my journey, and to figure out I can garner more money from my job so that I can free up more time. But all these things, ideas you're talking about, I'm sitting doing. I'm so excited about them that week to week, I'm just
Exhausted.
hand to mouth,
Yeah.
feeding myself and sheltering myself.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can speak to that at all. If it's just too general.
That's a really good question.
We can take that offline. It's kind of just a general thing. It's not really
No, it's a really good question, and I bet that there are some people here that can give you some really good advice on that.
Yeah.
I'll think about that, and I'll let you know.
Cool.
One of the things I want to speak to, and then I'll answer your question next, is that I have a very simple business model, and I want to share that with you real quick. I used to have different programs, different tiers. People say, don't just offer one price, offer 3 prices, and then they can select the most popular one, Or, if you actually want to charge $1,000, have a $2,000 option, so they'll buy the $1,000 one. I have found that simplicity is so powerful, because in simplicity, you feel real, and everything else will come around that. The audience will feel that you're being authentic with them, okay? So here's my business model. And many of you can do this, actually. I do a 12-week personal one-to-one coaching program, and of those clients, I only take 20 at a time, every 12 weeks. And I'm actually lessening the number as I raise the rates, so that I can have more time to give my content to everyone, okay? But 20 people, 12 weeks, those 20 people are in a community that I facilitate. I require each of them to post a weekly update. I require them to have an accountability buddy, at least one, in the program. And I require them to make some commitments as when they apply to it's application only. So I ask them to apply. Some commitments are clearly listed. One of the commitments, by the way, is that they'll pay on time, and then the payments are this amount on these dates. Really important. And I don't actually make them pay until the 2nd week into the program. People go, what? You don't charge them in advance? No, I don't have to. It's never been a problem. It's never been a problem. So as long as they know what the payments are, when they are, it's not a problem. That's it. That's the model, right? It's the one-to-one. And how much do I charge? I started back in January, since this is my first time one-on-one coaching. I only charge $250 a month for 3 months. I know, I told everyone it's a pilot price. People like Jonathan, my peers, are saying, George, you're crazy. You should be charging $1,000 a month for what you're doing here. And it's $250 a month. Now it's $425 a month. And I'll just kind of edge up to $1,000 a month in 2015. But the thing is this. That's my entire income. So right now I'm making about $8,000 a month, and it's fine. It's fine. It's enough. It's enough. And I don't have to pay anyone. All of it's profit. I don't have Office Autopilot anymore, so I'm not paying the $300 a month ridiculousness. And in terms of my mailing list, use MailChimp. You can have up to 2,000 subscribers for free. MailChimp.com. Weebly is a free website. You can do most of this stuff for free. Payment, take it through PayPal, or just freaking ask them for a check. I give them, most of them send checks. And it's free. So, I'm sorry, I'll take Margie.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
yeah.
Margie.
Okay, I think I forgot my question, but.
Sorry.
I guess my question is, okay, there's a free content, and then, because I've listened to your webinars that you've done to promote your products.
Right.
So how do you get the clients then? How does that convert over?
Okay, great. Yeah, great question. I love it.
How does that
I love it.
convert over from the free content that if you're not promoting
Yeah.
your programs, how are you converting over?
So imagine, and I didn't even finish my scalable generosity model. I'll do that real quick. So I said YouTube, 2 to 4 minute videos. If you can't do 2 to 4 minutes like me, then just do whatever length you want. It'll be fine, as long as you're communicating true content. Second one is podcasting. Okay, audio. Just audio is fine. Third one, it's okay to laugh. Third one is I would say the third one that works really well is creating a Facebook group. So if you like to build community, if you like the social thing, create your own. Now this is not for everyone, and part of the points of this talk was that you got to find your own way. Okay, I happen to be doing all of these. You don't have to do all of them. So Facebook either closed or open group. It's free. You invite people. You say, hey folks, what questions do you have about this? And if they don't have any questions, you just share great information, and you're building a tribe. Okay. I used to depend on the email opt-in thing. I no longer require email opt-ins for my best content, for any content. People come to my website and say, hey, here's all the free stuff. If you want to get future updates, fine, you can. It's below. But see, and I find that people who do sign up are much more loyal than they used to be. They actually read it. But what's more secure? Forcing people to email opt-in and then interrupting them occasionally, or every week, or 3 times a week. Is that more secure, or is it more secure to have people watching you on YouTube, listening on a podcast, in your Facebook group, and then whenever you want to announce your launch, you do it in all of those places.
So you just announce something?
You just announce it every 3 months,
There's
every 6 months, every 2 months.
webinar around it?
No. I give you this webpage so that you can copy my model, and it's georgecow.com/coaching. And literally on that webpage, you'll see me at georgekao.com, georgekao.com/coaching. And you can literally take that page and plug in your information, your program content, your commitments, your guarantee, your client reviews. If you haven't, don't worry, I started with none. And you got yourself a 12-week coaching program. In my first run, I did half hour, with each of the 20 people, I did half hour once a week. Now in my second run, I'm doing 1 hour every other week, and it's much better. They actually love the weekly connection, but now it's 1 hour every other week. It's much better. I can really go deep in that hour, and then I still require them to do a weekly update in the group. So that's it. So give content. Finally, for those of you who love to write, how many of you love to write? Okay, all right, most of you here. What I recommend is the following. Do 2 things, or 3 things, okay? 3 things for your writing. 1 is put your writing on medium.com. It's free. And when you post on medium.com, here's a very important point. Add your article to as many collections as you can. When you go to Medium, you can search for collections. Or when you click on add this article to a collection, you can search. Try out different keywords. Add them to dozens of collections if you can. If you don't add your articles on Medium to collections, it's barely going to be seen. So that's important. Medium.com is like a blogger's network, and it's like the best bloggers are there. If you get read by some great bloggers, they're going to notice you, and then they might ask you to guest blog on their site. So that's the second thing, is try to do guest articles on other people's blogs, because there's already an audience. So why are you reinventing the wheel? And why not just take your article and, if they're big, say, hey, I'm happy to write you an exclusive article about XYZ topic, because it looks like your audience really needs that. So you do a little bit of research and you look at what the comments are asking for. Say, hey, it looks like your audience really needs that. I'm happy to write you an exclusive article, because I know I've been talking about this stuff to my audience for a while. The second thing about writing. The third thing about writing is put it on Facebook. Either as a status update, which is fine, or as a note, a Facebook note. So I think all 3 of them are really helpful.
You mean to your friends?
Yeah, to your friends. I don't recommend using Facebook fan pages anymore. I abandoned my Facebook fan page in January, or in December, because Facebook stopped serving it up to a lot of people. So I just use my profile now to do both personal and business, and it's working great.
And your groups.
Yeah, and the groups, yes, the
Through your
open,
personal
yes,
profile.
right, the groups are really great.
That's great.
Yes, and-
You answered the question that I originally had
Okay.
about your structure of your program, but
Right.
just on that last note about Facebook, I heard that there were some people that were floating around some dialogue recently on Facebook about how they were going to really crack down on using your personal page for any business promotion. I don't know.
Yeah,
Or that it's just
That's
so
a good-
it's
yeah.
constantly changing
Yeah.
right now, I guess.
yeah.
Facebook.
I've never found it to be a problem, but I
Yeah.
think that I think it becomes a problem when people mark your thing as spam. So in other words, the kind of the answer to that is as long as you are sharing authentically, and as long as you're sharing from the heart, like, hey, I'm about to, and you don't do it every day, right? So it's like, hey, hey folks, I'm launching my program, really happy to be doing this, and I'm going to be serving 20 people. So hey, if you know of anyone who's struggling with these issues, maybe have them talk to me and see if it's the right fit for working with them.
Okay,
So
yeah,
that's
because I
the stuff that
started
never
a
be
business
marked.
page and then I just noticed the energetically, I just felt so much more authentic on my regular page.
There you
And
go.
I felt like I was kind of already just naturally abandoning my business
Yeah,
page.
exactly.
Yeah.
See, you're touching on that. It's really the bottom line. One thing you remember is two things you remember is don't listen to all the other marketers. I like to say that they're all preying on us when they should be praying for us. You know, they're preying on us, like they're always giving us offers. They have a ravenous, and I used to, ravenous appetite for selling. Like there's never enough selling us, you know. And the second thing to remember is if you show up as your real self and be as useful to the person in front of you as possible, you can't go wrong. Oh, third thing is launch every 3 months. you got to make an offer. You got to make an offer every couple of months, and you won't go wrong. Yeah. And your name?
Leslie.
Leslie.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
And is it
Nathan.
Nathan?
Can you just talk a little bit about the offer that you make?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually all on that page. You
Okay.
go there. I basically
That's
send.
fine. You don't need to read it all then.
Yeah, I just basically say, hey folks, I'm opening my program. And you know what?
You just
People say,
say-
well George, you already have a big list. Actually, I feel like I started over in the beginning of the year. Because a lot of the people from my list before, that was the old me. And it wasn't the same, it's not necessarily the same people who are connecting with me now. So I kind of feel like I started over in the beginning of the year in a lot of different ways. So a big important point is you don't need a big audience. You don't need a big list. Just if you are being really useful and authentic to like 50 to 100 people in a Facebook group or on a podcast, you could probably fill your program of 20 people. See what I mean? And you'd be making 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, whatever you're charging. Okay. Yes, Isabel.
And do you sell right away the program to people, or do you do offer a free consultation at the beginning? I guess you
Great
probably
question.
are well known, so you maybe not need to do
No,
that.
I actually don't think that some of those of you who are offering free consultations, you can stop. You don't need to do that anymore. You don't need to. Especially if you're answering questions elsewhere, you can authentically say, hey, do you have any questions I can answer? Like for via email, like whatever their contact. Hey, do you have any questions first before we talk? Any questions first? And they come to you with a question. You know what? I actually, my schedule's real busy this week because I've got a bunch of content development time scheduled in. And just send them to your video that answers the question. And to say, hey, I really, or you can say, I really don't do complimentary consultations, except for the people who are applying to my program and have specific questions about that. So that's what you can do is have people apply to your program, and below that says, any questions, just contact me. And you can try to answer via email, and if you really feel you need to take it to the next level, do a call. That'll save you so much time.
But it's interesting because it's really opposite to what I'm working ready to do right now.
Yeah, and actually I have to say, Isabel, I got one of her free consultations. Back in December, this is how recent my story is. Back in December, I had no idea what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I was thinking about going to get a job because I stopped selling about a year ago. I stopped my income. Like I can't live with this anymore. because I'm not getting that many results. And so I stopped selling, and then I'm like, oh, should I go get a job? And so I went and had a session with Isabel. She's great, by the way. She's a really great coach. But I didn't convert.
Came with a lot of intention. This was great.
So no, I don't think you do one-on-one free.
But can you still get I'm just.
Yes, just.
Can you still
clear,
get clients
be
that way?
clear of the deadlines for your application. And so let me tell you a bit about my launch process, just real quick. Basically, I have a 4-week launch process. Okay. Let's say that June 1st was when my next program starts. Let's say June 1st. The last week of May, I reserve for final enrollments and really for getting the group going. Even before the program starts, I actually prefer to enroll everyone 2 weeks before the program starts. So really, my application is open 4 weeks before the program starts. Okay? So 4 weeks before the program starts, it's private invitations. And you all can do private invitations. You have friends, you have colleagues that you think, you know what? Maybe some people in this room, it's like, you know what? If I were to start a program, I would love to have them as one of the community members. They would be awesome. So you go to them, say, Grant, you're an awesome guy. I know you will contribute so much to the coaching program, and I think you'll really benefit from it because of these things that we go through. I just want to send you like this personal invitation to my coaching program before I send it publicly, because I only get 20 spots. So the first week is private invitations. And then if you don't hear from them by the end of the week, you send them another email and say, hey Grant, just in case you didn't see that email, I'm going to be sending my program publicly on my Facebook and other social media sites next Monday, so really try to apply if you want to, because I pretty much am going to accept the people I privately invite. Okay. The second week, you do the public invitation. You send it out everywhere, on your Facebook profile, on your podcast, YouTube, Medium, wherever you are doing it. Share it widely. And then you have a reminder. Oh, the application closes, right? So the application should be closing in the third week. And you remind your public audience again. If you have an email list, obviously send that out. You remind your audience before the application closes. Application closes in 2 days. Now is the time to apply. Third week, the application closes, and you're still going to get applicants, okay? And you can decide whether you want to take them. And you basically reply. And when you reply to say yes, and this is something, if one of you will remind me, I'll send it through Jonathan. I'll send you my acceptance email, because I thought that was pretty effective. The acceptance email basically gave them the first assignment. Say, you're in. And before our first one-on-one call, I want you to bring this information to me. I want you to do this little worksheet. Bring it to me. So that's the third week. The fourth week, all of them already heard that they were accepted. And at the beginning of the fourth week, I send them the private group access. Right now, I'm using Google Plus Community for my client forum. And the reason I use Google Plus Community is because, unlike a Facebook group, Google Plus Community sorts the threads by the most recent thread first. You know how the most recently started thread first, whereas Facebook, every old thing that gets bumped up to the top and it gets really messy. So the Google Plus is, I think, better for client interaction, private group. And what's amazing is that, of course, in the fourth week before the program starts, I also post my orientation stuff and my announcements, and I invite them to introduce themselves to the community. That's really, really important. And to start finding their accountability buddy, because I have a spreadsheet where a Google spreadsheet, everyone can fill it out. They fill out their information and what kind of accountability buddy they're looking for. All right, by the time the program starts, like 25% of them have gotten great shit done. I mean, they're like, I shouldn't have said that because now this is not clean, right? I can't use this on a podcast anymore.
Edit that out.
So, no, they're like, I've been putting this stuff off for 6 months. And even before the program starts, I've already got it done. And see, that's the power of deadlines. And let's not call it deadlines, they call it due dates or lifelines, okay? So that's it's a lifeline. It'll give you more life. It puts a light under your butt, gives you more life. So that's the 4-week launch. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right. Okay.
One more. I just want to go back to kind of the bigger picture. You said you touched on this, kind of had an epiphany, and this is how you created your new business model. How do you touch base with that now in your life and keep that inner wisdom going as you proceed? Because I feel, for me, I do meditation, and that helps me get informed with what my next steps are. And so I remain authentic because I'm following that. So do you do meditation, or how do you get back in connection with that greater wisdom that brought you to where
question.
you are?
Yeah, that's really, really great. I actually just did a podcast episode on that. So instead of sharing that, because I have something else I want to share, I'll send that through Jonathan as well. And it's basically my 3 to 5 time a day moment with God practice. And it's really, really grounding, really powerful. And folks, feel free to stand up too if you need to stand up and go and walk around. We all sit too much. So last thing I want to share with you real quick is just very quickly, like as an ending framework, sort of my overall marketing model. Okay, so I call this virtuous marketing. And it goes like this. Step 0 is scalable, infinite generosity. And I've spent most of tonight's talk talking about that. YouTube videos, podcast, medium.com, Facebook group. Okay. Stage 0, infinite generosity, so that whatever you can share, you help as many people as you can, and it doesn't cost you a dime. You're not using any tools that cost you anything. But it builds you an audience, and builds you trust, and allows you to figure out what the questions are, so you can truly serve. Stage 1 then is offer strength. A lot of people say, George, I need help with my marketing, and I look at their offer and says, no, you need help making your program or offer stronger. And I have a blog post I wrote recently that's 20 ways to strengthen your offer. This is my best information, and I'll send it to Jonathan if one of you reminds him. 21 ways, or just Google it, 20 ways to strengthen your offer, George Cow. So offer strength, very important, because if your offer is strong, you need to do very little selling, if none. Okay. Third, that was stage 0 was infinite generosity, the 0 having to do with infinite divided by 0. And also 0 meaning if you don't get past 0, you never have a business. A lot of people just blog and blog and blog and never make an offer. No wonder they have no business, right? So 0 is still the foundation. 1 is the offer strength. 2 is referral partners, referral sources, and I'll tell you how to find referral sources. The main question is, who else sells to your ideal client? I'll say that again. Who else sells to your ideal client? So for me, my ideal clients include a lot of coaches, a lot of healers, so maybe life coaches also sell services to my ideal clients. Maybe more advanced marketers also sell, right? I often think about before and after. What's before my service? What's after? What would the client buy before they need me? What would my client buy after they need me? And who else sells to them? So that's referral partners. Because if you find people, right, the ideal referral partner is someone who has an audience, doesn't have to be huge, but has an audience, who asks them the questions that you answer, that they don't answer. You see what I mean? So someone might ask their life coach, hey, how do I market my business online? And the life coach knows, I'm trying to figure that out myself. If I come to them, right? If I come to them and says, hey, this is what I do, they're like, oh, thank you, and I love your values, so of course I'm going to refer people to you. Right? If you're a meditation teacher and you go to, I don't know, a Unitarian Universalist church and say, hey, I teach meditation and this is what I do, and they have congregation members asking them, say, oh yeah, Margie. You see what I mean? The ideal referral partner is already being asked about your service. That's the ideal referral partner. Step 3 is client happiness. Client happiness. If you focus on making your clients happy, you will have to do very little selling in your life. And one way to stoke the client referral engine is this. in your intake survey or application form, ask them for initials of 3 friends or colleagues who, if your program or service were really awesome, they would be happy to refer these 3 initials, 3 people to you. That's what I do in my application. I say, hey, give me 3 initials. If my program is truly helpful to you, I'll remind you about these 3 initials, and I'll ask you to send a little quick email to them about the next launch. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like after serving 20 people, you have 60 people who are waiting for your program. Okay, one more question. Yes. And your name, please?
Yasmina.
Yasmina. Oh, great. Hi.
Hi. So now that you've said that the price of your program is going to be going up and up and up, I'm wondering if you can like prepay so you can.
Well, thank you for asking. I mean, honestly, my ideal is that most people, and hopefully nobody will need me. I mean, that's really what I'm aiming for. And that's what I hope you all aim for, is to give so much that nobody really needs you. But the irony of it, the beautiful divine truth, is that the more you authentically give, the more people need you. So, Yasmina, my next launch in July, I'm probably going to raise it just $100. So it's not going to be very much. So, but until then, use the free information and make money with it. So, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Isn't he awesome?
Yeah.
So I was so happy that he joined us here for today. And so a couple of things is that if you would like to get those links that he mentioned, if you paid on Eventbrite, then I have your email. A lot of you signed in. Not all of you. I got the emails from. It came a little bit later, so you just want to go back and make sure that we have your emails if you would like to get that. Second is, please eat all of the food. So we still have another half hour here. I also just wanted to mention too, a lot of people said, wow, this is an interesting space. And so it is a shoe store, activist event space where they have different events and artists and cool stuff that happens here, and an art gallery. So every time we come in here, we've had 4 or 5 events here. It's always differently and very coolly decorated. So that's a little bit about the space as well. If you thought today was cool, if you are not on Conscious Business Bay Area, please go there and join so you can find out about other cool stuff that happens. And again, that is bit.ly.com/conscious meetup, or you can just search for Conscious Business Bay Area. And if you are a member, then please go to the site, and if you thought today was cool, rate the event to tell other people about all the cool stuff, things that are happening here. And if you also enjoyed it, please tell your friends and colleagues too who would benefit from here to also join so that we keep having more resources and bringing more people into this realm of conscious business, which in my opinion is still very needed to be able to change the paradigms. So it's not just, let's be conscious, but it's actually really bring actual consciousness into our work to be able to create the difference in the world that we all really know needs to happen. So again, thank you so much for being here.